Today I'm going to teach you a proper chicken fabrication technique so that you can produce 10 separate pieces of chicken. You're going to get 2 airline supreme breasts with the first segment of the wing bone attached. You'll get 2 chicken tenders. You'll get 2 chicken drumettes or lollipops. You'll get 2 boneless, skinless thighs and 2 chicken drumsticks. This is a very important skill to have. Not only will it help you make a better score in this class and make you a better chef, but also it's a standard accepted practice. When you interview for a job, many restaurants will hand you a chicken and ask you, what can you do with this chicken? It's also important for a chef to maximize utilization of a chicken, to maximize profit for your menu. It's also very important to understand fabrication for your competition opportunities. So it's real important to understand proper chicken fabrication techniques, and it also makes a great party trick. So today we're going to cut up this chicken into 10 distinct pieces. We're going to get a airline supreme breast with the first bone of the wing bone attached. We're going to get 2 chicken legs or drumsticks. We're going to get 2 chicken thighs, boneless, skinless. We're going to get 2 chicken drumettes or lollipops out of this piece here. And then we're going to get 2 chicken breast tenders. So the first thing you want to do is kind of get to know your chicken, understand the anatomy of what you're about to cut into. On the back side, the important thing are these 2 bumps right here, and to see where the thigh bones come into the backbone. The first thing you do is you want to just kind of trim up this cavity part, and there's usually a flap of fat that you can remove, and just set that aside. You can retain that to use it for something else so that it'll look something like this, nice and clean. Next, we're going to remove the thigh leg quarter from the carcass of the chicken. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to want to cut the skin just right here by the leg. In fact, you'll see a fat line right here, and you want to cut the skin as close to the leg as possible. And we just want to go right through just like so. Want to make sure there's plenty of skin on the breast. And likewise on this side, cut into it just like this. So the next thing you do is you just pick it up, and you can feel where the bones, the thigh bones, go into the backbone, and you just break them opposite of their articulation so that you can expose the ball and socket joints. Flip it over on its side. Now, there's this fat line right here. Now, people do lots of different things to make a mistake on this. They might start up here, but you want to get right here. In fact, this bone right here, you almost set your knife on it like a ledge and just use that to hold the chicken down and cut right up into this joint. And as you cut through this joint, the cartilage of that joint, just as you get on the other side of it, you stop. You don't want to cut any further. Now, there's lots of ways to remove this. This little piece right here is called the oyster of the chicken, and that is a very prized bite of chicken. It weighs a little under an ounce, and if you cut up 100 chickens for your day of service and you cut off that chicken oyster, then that's about 100 ounces of chicken meat that you've wasted, and that's big dollars. So you can just kind of put your finger right on the thigh bone, and if you just rotate it up naturally, you can see that oyster come off. The surefire way to do it is to put your thumb into this divot and slowly remove it. At this point, it's just being held on by skin, and you can just cut that skin right off like so. So next, we're going to make our airline supreme breasts. And you basically just pick up the wing, and again, using gravity to hold it down, we want to cut along the underarm and around this bone through the skin and the flesh and any soft tissue surrounding the bone so that you can just use your hand to pull the meat off of that bone. And opposite of the natural articulation of this joint, you want to break it down and back to expose that wing bone. We're going to go ahead and remove the breasts. And so you want to cut just along the keel bone. And then when you hit the rib cage, you want to kind of turn your knife a 45-degree angle and cut along the ribs to remove that breast as much as possible, leaving no meat on the rib cage. You can grab the wing bone and breast in one hand and pick it up so that gravity starts pulling the breast off of the cage. So with the breast, you want to kind of lay it out, smooth the skin out so that you got full coverage as much as possible. Flip it over. That'll reveal a little lobe of fat right up here at the top that we can cut off. But other than that, it's perfect. But we do need to remove the tenderloin. And you can just pull it up right here. Now, our wing drumettes. Just grab a towel and grab the wing tip. And again, opposite of its natural articulation, you just break the joint and push it down to expose those two bones. And then grab the smaller of the two and it'll pull right out. Retain that. Going to go ahead and do it with this other one. Opposite of the natural articulation. And back. Remove the smaller. Okay, using the knife, cut off the wing bone, the wing tip. And then you basically just pull it down like you're taking your sock off, pull it inside out, like so, and then place it down on the table, and there's a little chicken drumette or lollipop. Next, we're going to separate the thigh and leg just by putting your knife right here in the crook of the chicken, and by cutting down, you go right between the joints. Next, boneless, skinless thighs. These are our two thighs here. And we're just going to remove the skin, just like so. We can cut these little lobes of fat off each end of the thigh. And then you can just cut right along that fat line and then use the tip of your knife to scrape the flesh off the bone. When you do that, you can just reach in with your finger and make a little hole for your knife to go through. And you can remove that from the bone, scrape down to the knuckle, and cut that off. To display, two Airline Supreme breasts, drumettes here. We've got our legs down here. We've got our two thighs there, and then our two tenderloins there. So a common mistake that's made when removing the breast from the cage is not using the rib cage and the keel bone as the guide to cut the breast off. Lots of times people will just kind of go in like so and then just kind of try, they don't really follow the cage and they just cut it off like so and leave way too much meat on the carcass of the chicken. Now, not only does that waste a lot of meat, but it also takes away a usable piece of chicken that is the breast tender. And let me demonstrate that. Here I've got the breast in front was removed properly. The breast in back was not. When I pick up the tender and peel that off, you can see that's a really nice looking tender. This tender, when I pick and peel off, is lacking dramatically because I didn't cut the flesh off the cage of the chicken properly. So this is where we want to cut it. But if you were to cut it right here, like that, by the time we get this all cut apart, that skin is going to be riding high on the breast and you won't have complete coverage of that breast. Another mistake that was made on this was the Frenching of the bone. And if you look at the two thighs, you can see that this one in my left hand has a much longer exposed wing bone than this. And you can see here, we should have cut more of this lobe off. That would have added dramatically to the drumette. We can look at our two thighs, one done correctly and one done incorrectly, to see the distinct difference. When you compare these two, the one on the left has the entire oyster attached. Now here's the oyster of the one on the left where it was removed, where it was cut straight off of the carcass. When we look at the carcass to judge, the two things that will be looked at is the rib cage. Was all the meat removed from the rib cage as much as possible? And you can see on this carcass, this side was removed as much as possible. When you flip it over to the other side, you can see all the flesh that remains on the cage of the bird. And this is wasted chicken. It'll go into the stock pot and it'll never get used. Here I have two legs. One of them has that bone where I cut it, and the other one I cut directly through the joint. So that red right there is the telltale sign that it wasn't cut properly. This has no red and it's perfect.